Hello and welcome to another episode of the Halloween Podcast. I am your host, Lyle Perez, and today April is with me again to watch another sitcom. And this one...
Happy Halloween!
Oh my goodness. And this one was a lot of fun. April, how you doing?
I am full of the Halloween spirit.
Who isn't? I mean, we're getting so close to Halloween. It is there within arm's reach. Almost there, and trust me, doing 31 shows, 31 days... is very, very tough. Trust me.
Do you know what I find the most spooky about Halloween is?
What?
That you like candy corn.
But I wasn't the only one.
Candy corn.
I was not the only one. When you posted that on Facebook, a lot of people came out of the woodwork and said, "Hey, I like candy corn too."
Did you see they had candy corn flavored Oreos?
Yeah, but I wouldn't eat anything that's candy that's flavored anything. Like,
okay.
if it's supposed to be something, but they added that flavor to something else, no, I wouldn't eat it.
So, funny story. When I was at the pet store, they had candy corn hamster bedding.
Ooh.
But it was like the bedding was just designed to look like candy corn. I was like, there's no way they're dumb enough to put that in there. They can't eat that.
Of course not.
So that was a relief. I had to find it to see it because I was like, you can't give them that. That would be bad. So it's safe.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that. But, bringing it back to the episode, we watched a sitcom that I feel is very, very underappreciated.
I thought it was funny. I just never heard of it.
This is the type of sitcom that not a lot of people have heard about. Only a select few would pretty much know. It's kind of like the Wayans Brothers in a way. The Wayans Brothers...
I knew of that, though. I just didn't know they had a show. And then I'm like,
yes.
What? How did I not see all of those?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, Robert Townsend, he's the lead guy in this sitcom. Yeah, the dad. And he was very well known at the time. So I don't understand how his show didn't get more traction.
Well, I did notice at the bottom it had advertisements and it said Bernie Mac was next. And I'm like, man, this came on before Bernie Mac and I didn't see it. I loved Bernie Mac. He was funny.
That was probably in syndication because so far this has only been in syndication on like one of those networks that's very town specific. I'm not sure where. I think it was in Chicago is the only place that this was being syndicated at the past, like, I don't know, 8 years or so when I was trying to find the sitcom. Because like I said before, I have taped so many things on VHS that, like, I don't know what happened to all of my tapes. I still have a handful of them. And the stuff that's on there was like sitcoms that not a lot of people would remember. So I would watch them there and then go look for them because you can't really find them online. It took me forever to find this Taxi Man episode. I had it recorded on a VHS tape somewhere. I think I might have ripped it off of there a long time ago, but I don't remember. And I've just been searching YouTube constantly, trying to search through all of the channels to see if the show will come up on syndication anywhere, but it hasn't in like the past, I don't know, 15 years that I've been trying to find these things. And recently, well, by recently I mean about 3 years ago, I was just on YouTube and I found it. I found this episode and I was like, oh, perfect. I also found that
there was a part missing.
Yeah, there was a part missing that I remember well, and I'll let you know when it happens. But I don't think we mentioned it yet. The sitcom that we're talking about is called The Parenthood, and the episode that we're going to discuss in this show is called The Taxi Man. It was season 2, episode 6, and it originally aired on October 25th, 1995. April, you never really had any relationship with this, right?
I didn't even know it existed. I actually was wondering when you sent that to me. I was like, did he forget the TGIF theme? Was this on TGIF? How did I not see this? Did I go to bed already? Was there some competing show on another? What the heck happened?
Yes.
I was racking my brain. I was hoping you were going to tell me how I hadn't seen this.
Well, I did send it to you under false pretenses because in the 90s, there was a lot of different block-themed stuff. We had the Saturday night block. We had the Friday block. Those were the two most popular ones.
We had
a Thursday one too.
Didn't they?
Yeah, a Thursday one. But what a lot of people don't know was when the CW was originally called the WB. That's the name of the network. And then it turned into the CW when it merged with UPN. And when the CW first began, it began in, I believe, 95 is when that network started. When it started, it did a block on its own on Wednesdays. And that Wednesday block, I watched religiously. That is the same block as the Wayans Brothers. It's the same one as another show called Unhappily Ever After. It also had...
That's how I missed all of those.
Yeah, it also had Nick Freno, licensed teacher. It had that one too. It had a lot of those underrated sitcoms because it wasn't on a big network. It was on the WB.
And it was on Wednesday.
Yes, it was on a Wednesday.
People didn't know to look for it. It was Wednesday after all.
Yeah, so all of the popular shows went on the TGIF, went on the Thursday, must-see TV Thursday or must-see TV Saturday, whenever it was. So, like, that's how these shows got missed. But I remember these because I watched it religiously. There was also another one called Kirk. And that one had Kirk Cameron in it. It was his sitcom, like in the 90s. And they had a really good...
I vaguely remember something about that one, I think. Yeah. I'm not sure now.
That one had a really good Halloween episode. And I have it recorded. I ripped it off the TV.
That's not the Brothers one. That's something else, right?
Brotherly Love was also on that.
Up?
No, but it's a different show. The Brotherly Love one, I'm pretty sure, was also on Wednesdays with all of these other ones.
It's the same guy, though. It's just not the same show.
Different guy. It wasn't Joey Lawrence.
I'm even more confused.
It was Kirk Cameron. He was the one in Growing Pains. He's really religious now. He does a lot of...
yeah. And then, like, isn't, like, the Full House older sister his sister?
His sister, yeah. Candace Cameron is his sister.
Yes, Oh my Lanta.
He had a sitcom. It was called Kirk. He was like this... he was a graphic designer, I guess. He did comic books. He was the artist for the comic books, whatever they call that. And they had a really good Halloween episode. It was a lot of fun. He was like this big old prankster, and a lot of things happened. He got sent to jail at one point. I had it recorded on a VHS tape. The only problem is, through the many years of me recording stuff off of the TV on VHS tapes, I ran out of tapes constantly. So in that tape, I actually recorded over the ending. So I remember the ending. I remember that episode because...
Did you go, no, when that happened, when you realized?
When I realized it, yes. But this was years ago. I'm talking like 20 years ago now. But before then, I remember watching that episode on the VHS constantly. So I remember the episode well. And then it had to have been...
Basically, what we need to do is we need to go back in time and get little Lyle a Costco box of VHS cassettes.
Yes, that would have been awesome.
Maybe 2.
Because this...
would have been like, best gift ever.
That show does not exist anywhere online.
What?
Trust me, I searched and searched and searched for anyone that might have this recorded on a VHS tape that ripped it and threw it on YouTube. It is nowhere to be found. That episode is nowhere. Trust me.
Could he have been secretly embarrassed by the show?
I don't know. Like I said, it probably was because it wasn't on the TGIF block.
Deal.
It wasn't, yeah. So a lot of these shows got swept under the rug. They only had like 1 or 2 seasons. The Parenthood, I believe, only had 5 seasons, but the last season was like very small. It ended with like 90 episodes, I believe.
90.
The Wayans Brothers had about 103 episodes. What else is on there? I love
those guys. I would have watched that.
Oh, I would have too. I did actually. I watched it back and forth. I still want to do a podcast about the Wayans Brothers. I've been talking about it, but I never done it. So I should probably just do it. Just start from season 1 all the way down to season 5.
How many episodes could there even be to? It wouldn't take that long, right? You said it only went on. What is that? The one you said that was 2 seasons?
No, it's 102 episodes. That's how many episodes was the Wayans Brothers.
30 minutes.
30 minutes each, about 102 episodes. Don't quote me 100%. It was a little over 100 because I remember they got to at least 100 episodes.
I think we talked about one of them for something.
We did. We did the Halloween one last year, and I did the Christmas one with my friend Lassa. Oh, the people that listen to the Christmas show, the It's a 90s Christmas podcast, you haven't heard that one yet. If you're a fan, it'll come out in a couple of months, but we did that one for an episode. We did a lot of them, but I really want to just start from the very beginning because I can talk about that show forever. Like, I've researched a lot of the inside jokes that happen in that show because I wanted to understand it better, because people get a lot of laughs. I think I mentioned it before. There's a lot of like small jokes where at one point Dee, the security guard, she is very she's really mad, and then Marlon makes a joke that like, hey, I haven't seen her that upset since Amen got canceled. And then I searched for Amen and cancellation, and then I realized that actress was a main character in the TV program Amen. That's where that's from. And when I realized it, I laughed completely. There was another one where there's like a really mean teacher, and Sean and Marlon, they have that mean teacher. And at one point, like, this is so stupid, naive me, but at one point the teacher tells one of the kids in the class, he's like, hey, are you talking? And the little kids are like, no, sir, I got laryngitis. I had no idea what laryngitis was. I looked it up, and it's when you can't speak. And then when I realized that, I just started laughing at that line.
You can't say that you have laryngitis if you can't speak.
That's the joke.
Oh,
and it killed me.
Kind of like the Salem one joke was like, I heard Salem wailing, and I just thought he got scared by the pumpkin. I just didn't get the joke.
Yeah, it's just like that Sabrina one. But I mean, this show is filled with like very black pop culture references to like old TV shows, good times.
Like their favorite kind of joke, though.
Yeah, that's where it all like spawns from. So when I started looking up things like Dolomite, when they would make a lot of Dolomite references, now when I hear it, it makes me laugh. Yeah, Dolomite. He was you got to look it up because it was like this strange pimp movie, and it's just hilarious.
I was for some reason thinking pineapple ice cream.
Yeah.
It sounds like Dole Whip.
Oh yeah, a little bit in a way.
Yeah, if you're not hearing it properly, especially because I was like, man, I want some ice cream now.
But yeah, I mean, the Wayans Brothers, I loved that show.
They're
really want to do it. Let me see, I got it right here. It was 101 episodes, not 102.
They're hilarious.
They never got a final episode. The last episode kind of just like ends abruptly, and that was the end. They were supposed to have one more season, but they never did it. And I'm like hoping that like they'll be like, yeah, sure, let's do it again, because everything's getting revived now. But I highly doubt this would get revived.
I would watch that. If you guys are listening, please bring the Wayans Brothers back. I would watch them.
Oh, I would definitely watch it.
You got 2 watchers.
What else was here? There was a show. Do you remember Seventh Heaven? Did you ever see that one?
I didn't watch that one, no.
That was also on the same network, the WB network. Sister was also on the WB network in that block.
I did not realize. I watched that. I love Sister. I actually follow both of the sisters on Facebook, but most of all they talk about is babies and baby stuff. Because they're having babies. One of them just had a little girl, but I can't remember its name because it was a tongue twister to me.
Oh, nice.
And obviously I wouldn't know which sister it was because I didn't read the header before the video started playing. I'm like, well, it's one of them.
Right. A lot of fun. All right, well, let's get to the episode because we went off of Wayans Brothers tangent.
If we get time, we need to do a Sister Halloween episode. Did they do any Halloween shows?
They did, but it's not really a Halloween episode. It's very similar to like, it takes place during Halloween. That's about it.
Oh.
But we can do it. I have it. I'll send it to you. We'll do it maybe next week.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, so let's see. So we did...
Back to the actual episode.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone.
So the name of the sitcom is The Parenthood. This one originally aired on October 25th, 1995, right when I was 10 years old. So
I was 15.
Mm-hmm. So the synopsis for the episode is Nicholas thinks that Halloween is going to be anything but a treat after he hears a local legend about a cab-driving ghost who appears if his name is called 3 times. Very scary.
So kind of like Bloody Mary, but it's a taxi driver.
Bloody Mary, Candyman.
I don't live in a place where taxi drivers are that prominent. Like, I've taken plenty of taxis, but it's not like you're going to just yell for a taxi and you get one. It doesn't work like that here. You gotta call and hope they're not booked booked, and if they're booked, then you call for 2 hours and hope eventually somebody shows up, or you walk home.
Right. Well, I think it serves me correct, this was in New York is where they were. Yes, New York City.
Oh yeah, I think that's a completely different situation with taxis out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're in Harlem, I should say. Harlem, New York City. Yeah, that's where they are. It's all coming back to me. But yeah, it's a fun episode. So I guess let's get into the run through. I will go ahead and start. So the opening scene, actually, let me give you the characters first, because we're going to be going back and forth with all of these characters.
Especially since I bet it's still going to be neat for people to hear, because it's a great episode. It was fun, but I think it will help even me because I'm not that familiar with the show. Who are all those people? Okay, so it's a regular family. We got mom, dad, brothers, sisters, that sort of thing. So we have Robert, who's the dad. We have Jerry, and
who
some other guy that showed up.
I will get to him. He's probably the funniest. Sure. The funniest thing out of this entire sitcom is him. Jerry is the mom. We have Zaria, who is the oldest daughter. We have Michael, who is the oldest son. We have Nicholas, who is the younger son, and Cece.
The gullible one.
Yes, sorry. Cece is the youngest daughter. She's the youngest, sister. And we also have Wendell Wilcox. He is the guy that shows up.
Neighbor.
He's the best friend. The best friend of the dad.
Best friend? Okay.
Yes. So that's who he is. He comes in all the time. He's Uncle Wendell, that sort of thing. Good friend of the family's. Yada, yada. Very hyper, very intense, very in-your-face type of character. Really fun. Especially in this episode. At the very end, he had me dying of laughter.
He was pretty funny.
So we'll get into him in due time. Opening scene. So now that we know everybody. Nicholas comes down the stairs and he's saying good morning to everybody. Everybody is like at the breakfast table, just eating breakfast. Right off the bat, everything seems like off because they're talking all robotic and all that stuff. And the mom says that she made his favorite meal. And she says, I made a big stack of Taxi Man. And then Nicholas asks, what'd she say? And she replies that I made a big stack of pancakes. Nicholas is all like, no, that's not what she said. And he says that he can't say it because if he says it 3 times, he will appear. And the dad goes, who will appear? And Nick says, the Taxi Man. And then Cece, of course, being the youngest daughter, she's like, oh, that's one. That made me laugh.
That was pretty funny.
So the dad says that, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Eat your breakfast. You're going to be late for Taxi Man. And then Nick says, oh, now you said it. The dad says, said what? And then Nick says, oh, no, I'm not saying Taxi Man again. Total 5-year-old thing.
I was like, oh, man, kid.
So, and then Cece goes, that's 2. And then everyone is telling him to calm down. Nick says that will everyone please just stop saying Taxi Man? And then everyone yells together, that's 3. And then the lights go dark. There's a knock at the door. And they ask Nick to get the door. And he asks why he has to do it because he's closest to the door. And then we get a wide shot of everybody. And everybody is like towards where the staircase is.
It's like they hightailed it to the furthest end of the room so that he'd have no choice but being the closest to the door.
Yes, they did that. It
was like, oh, that kid's gonna die.
So he's like, who is it? And then he's like, he magically gets, he's like on a conveyor belt or something because he floats to the front.
He's being sucked in or something by like a wind vortex or something. Yeah. It was so funny.
If you haven't realized that yet, he's dreaming. That's why everything's so over the top.
Well, when you haven't seen the episode before, I mean this show before, you don't know for sure if that's just the way the show works or not.
I guess. But the Taxi Man basically bursts through the door. He's looking very creepy. He has like this Taxi Man sign on his neck. It's like broken in half. And he says, who called the Taxi Man? And everyone's all like, he did right there. They're all pointing at Nicholas. The Taxi Man tells him to come take a ride with the Taxi Man. And then Nick says the funny line, "You go warm the car up, I'll be right there."
I thought that was pretty clever.
Yes.
Actually.
Taxi Man's not having anything to do with that. He grabs Nicholas, and that's when Nicholas is like, we get to him in his bed, and he's moving around screaming. Michael comes up to him, and he's all like, the big brother, he comes up to him, and he's all like, "Hey, you're dreaming. You're having a nightmare." And Nicholas wakes up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm never going to sleep again." And then Michael starts giving him like a pep talk about having nightmares. And while he's doing that, Nick pretty much just falls asleep.
I actually thought that was super freaking cute.
Passed out little boy. But next scene.
Literally, like, he's not even a second later, and he's back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was great. So the next scene, we're in real life now, and it's pretty much the same exact scene as in the dream. They're sitting around the breakfast table. It's just like the dream. So Mom says that she made his favorite, and he asks what his favorite is. She says that a big stack of pancakes, of course. And he asks, he's like, "You said pancakes, right?" And the dad obviously knows that he's acting funny, something's wrong. Michael tells him, yeah, he had another nightmare. And the dad goes, "Yeah, the taxi man again?" And Michael's like, "Yeah, of course, the taxi man. That's what he's scared of." The dad tells him that it's just a silly story that people make up to scare kids. Nicholas says, "Well, it's working." That made me laugh.
It is.
Michael tells him that it's fun to be scared on Halloween, and that he scares Zarya every year, and she just loves it. And then she replies, "That's wrong, double boy." She says that she's ready for him this year, that he's not going to be able to scare her. And so basically the battle's on. They're going to try to scare each other. They leave for school. Cece asks her mom if she found her a sunflower costume yet. Mom says no. Cece says that one of her friends' mom, made her a sunflower costume, made the friend. And the mom says that she can sew one, and she wants to make one herself. The dad doesn't think that it's going to happen because he knows his wife, and she's not much of a sewer, not much of a crafts person. So she's determined to make a costume for Cece. Mom and Cece, they end up going to school, and so it's just Dad and Nicholas now, Robert. The dad asks if he's ready to go trick-or-treating that night. Nicholas doesn't feel like he wants to go because he's scared of the taxi man. And as he's talking to his dad about the taxi man, there's a knock at the door, and the dad's over there in their fridge, and Nick's at the breakfast table. The dad's like, "Why don't you go ahead and get the door?" And then Nicholas says, "Why do I have to do it?" And Dad's all like, "Oh, because you're closer." He's like, "Oh, I knew you were gonna say that." So he starts creepily walking to the door, and then it busts open, and it's Wendell, the friend. He has a mask on, and he pretty much scares the crap out of Nicholas.
That was funny.
There's a joke about him. He takes off the mask, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, it's me. It's just Wendell." And then Robert goes, "Put it back on." They sit down at the table. Robert tells Wendell that Nicholas, he's scared of the taxi man. And Robert starts saying that's all he talks about now. It's just taxi man. Taxi man. He's about to say taxi man again, and then Wendell interrupts him. He's like, "Hey man, one more time and we're all gonna be in big trouble." So
clearly Wendell believes.
He believes the legend, and he says that his father told him about the legend. And because I think he does such a good job at telling you what the taxi man legend is, I'm gonna go ahead and play it for you guys right now.
My daddy told me all about the guy. He was a stockbroker who lived in Harlem and worked way down on Wall Street. Every day he took the subway. But on this one day, he decided to take a cab uptown. It just so happened to be Halloween. He started waving down cabs, but they just kept on passing him by. Passing him by. So he starts to get mad because he realized they wouldn't pick him up because he was a brother.
Is this true, Dad?
Well, yes and no. Yes, they don't stop for brothers. And no, this never happened.
Anyway, my man just got so sick of empty cabs past him, he has jumped in the middle of the street and yelled, "Taxi! Taxi! Taxi!"
Did the taxi stop?
Yeah, right after it hit him.
Wendell, this story doesn't make any sense. Why is the taxi man going after innocent people? Why isn't he going after other cab drivers?
Rob, the man's head is squished. He's not thinking straight, man.
And what's your excuse?
Okay, there are those who believe, and there are those who are doomed.
And there are those who are leaving.
All right, watch your back.
So we come back, and Wendell's telling the story. Wendell leaves because basically he saw like there are those who believe and there are those who are doomed. And then Robert's like there are those who are leaving. And then for whatever reason, I always wanted to add the line, and there are those who are leaving just like you, so it could all rhyme, but he doesn't say that. He just says, and there are those who are leaving. So he leaves.
Made it better.
Yeah,
I mean, the writers for the show didn't hear it.
It would have been good if he would have just said, and there are those who are leaving just like you. But we don't get that. So Dad, he goes. The dad goes upstairs to do whatever he's got to do. He's got to go finish getting ready.
He's gonna get his briefcase.
Oh yeah, he's gonna get his briefcase, and Nicholas is still downstairs. He's trying to. He takes a bite of something, or he's about to, and then the toaster.
Pancake.
Yeah,
it toaster goes off.
Pops up, and then he just takes off running, scared.
He's a bit of a twitchy little kid there.
Mm-hmm.
Because the taxi man is gonna get him.
The taxi. That's such a weird legend. The legend of the taxi man.
It really is. That's why it took me a while to get what was going on. Is like, is this specific to this show? Is this like a long running? There's a lot of things you've got to try to work out the understanding of when it's a series you never saw before, but it kind of makes it more entertaining. So later that day, the mom is making the smallest girl her sunflower costume. And the little girl says, "I look like a string bean." And I was like, green crayon without the wrapper, caterpillar without the legs. Okay, string bean works too. And the sister comes down the stairs, basically says the same thing. There's a cute joke about maybe if we water you, you'll grow arms, because this poor woman is not much of a sewer, and the girl is just wrapped toe to neck in green fabric, and her arms are wrapped in, green mummy? No, okay, either way. So the older sister, after commenting and agreeing on the cute string bean costume, asks if they've seen Michael, because of course we both know Michael is out to scare her, and she's trying to be prepared as she can be. The mom tells her that he left a box for her in the kitchen, and it's a little bakery box, and I'm thinking, dang it, now I want some donuts.
I want some donuts. I thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And then I was like, donuts aren't in there. There's cupcakes. That's weird. And so there's a note that says, I give up trying to scare you this year. Here's a peace offering of some cupcakes. And all I could think was, oh God, what did he do to the cupcakes? I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't know this show. I don't know how far they're going to go. So I'm nervous. And he says something about, sharing, saving some for the rest of the family. So she goes to put them in the bread box. And I remember thinking, that's a weird bread box. It's kind of huge. And also very unnecessary to be such a prominent feature of the kitchen. And she opens the bread box, and his head is inside.
His head's inside and screams. Or, no, what does he say? He says, oh man, I don't remember what he says, but he says something.
I actually thought he screamed, though. Like, he went, and scared her. And then she says something funny, and then she slams the lid down on the bread box. I think I have you where I want you. And then starts beating the top of it. It's metal, so that would have really hurt. And I thought it was kind of funny that they did like the cartoony swirly thing over his head to indicate that he was dizzy from getting the top of the bread box hit.
Right.
So I enjoyed that quite a bit. I didn't know that was the kind of thing that this show did, so I thought that was funny. Is that a usual kind of joke for them?
Yeah, they do that all the time. They also do I don't think they did it in this episode, but the dad, Robert, he daydreams a lot. So throughout some time in the episode, something would happen and he would get triggered with some nonsensical thing, and he would like think about that in his head, and you can see what he's thinking in his head.
Oh, okay, kind of like Ally McBeal.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Okay.
But
she would picture strange things like, she would see a cute guy, and then her tongue would roll out of her head and do the coyote lol lol thing.
Oh wow. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it was silly.
Yeah, he would just daydream, and you can see the daydream. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he didn't do it in this one.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't think so. But that night, the dad, he is tucking Nicholas in bed. And the weird thing is that earlier in the episode, he asked Nick if he was ready for trick-or-treating tonight. So I guess that wasn't Halloween, like Halloween's tomorrow night.
Halloween Eve? Yeah, that confused me too.
Weird. But Nick asks his dad, to close the closet door, please. He asks if Robert asks Nicholas if he's still scared of the taxi man, and of course he still is. He hasn't done anything. Nicholas sarcastically laughs, and he's all like, "Ha ha ha! Can you please just check to see if he's in there?" So the dad looks. There's nothing. There's no taxi man inside the closet. He closes the closet door. Nicholas asks if he thinks that he's a scaredy cat. And the dad's like, "No, I mean, we're all afraid of something." And Nicholas asks what he's afraid of, and Robert says, "I'm afraid of the IRS." Total dad thing to say. Then he goes on to say that when he was a kid, he was scared of,
a green slime monster under his bed. I was like, that's
Yes.
a really specific thing to be afraid of. Did you get attacked by Jello?
But yeah, that's what he's scared of. But he grew out of his fear, and Nicholas is going to grow out of his fear too. So just try to get
some
over
time?
it. Yeah. So the dad goes to leave, and then Nicholas stops him, and he's like, "Can you please check underneath the bed for any green slimy monsters?" And the dad's like, "Oh boy, I just gave him another thing to be scared of."
Like, great. I had to open my mouth. That's what I was picturing him saying.
So the Robert leaves, and he says before he leaves, he goes, "Just remember, there's no such thing as taxi man." And then Nicholas starts talking to himself as he's trying to go to sleep. He's like, "There's no such thing as taxi man. There's no such thing as taxi man." And then he's like drifting off into a sleep. "There's no such thing as taxi man." And then we get a good 3-4 seconds of just watching him go to sleep. And then he busts up in a panic, and he's like, "Did I just say that 3 times?" And then the taxi man, this is where you don't see the scene, because this is where, for some reason, that episode I sent you, like, this scene was cut. But the taxi man bursts through the door like the Kool-Aid man.
Oh, no, I totally saw that. He burst through
you did?
not the closet door, but like the door that his dad left from, and he screams and shoots up in bed and is like, "I'm so old for this."
Yeah,
and then,
gotcha.
Yeah.
He bursts through, and he says, no, he bursts through the door, and then he says that the taxi man starts waving his hands in the air, and he's yelling, "Taxi, taxi!" And then he puts his hands down and he yells, "Won't anybody stop for a brother?" And then he goes to grab Nicholas, and then that's when Nicholas starts waking up and screaming. I don't think he saw that.
Okay, I didn't see the grabbing part.
Right.
He does call for a taxi, but there. Oh, sorry. The kitty just started kicking her back legs. It's like, "Are you having a bad dream, like Nicholas? Is the taxi man scaring my kitten?" She's like,
the
"I'm
taxi
cleaning
man.
my foot now. I'm over it."
Right. So
She likes to give herself a bath.
Nicholas wakes up. He goes, he's like, "Oh, it was only a dream." He lays back down, and then the hand of a green slimy monster reaches for him, and then he wakes
Like,
up again.
instantaneously, to the point where I'm almost wondering if that wake up was a dream wake up.
Yeah. So he wakes up again, and he's like, "Oh, I hate Halloween."
I swear I thought he said he was too old for this.
He does the first time he wakes up. Because he wakes up, he's like, "Oh, I'm too old for this." But then he lays back down. That's when the green slimy monster hand comes after him. And then he wakes
okay.
up again and says he hates Halloween.
The next day, Michael is coming home from school. That's the older brother, not the chicken younger brother that I forgot the name of already. And the older sister is in the kitchen doing homework, and he makes a joke about the red box being haunted. And I would have loved it if she'd had some joke about him having a head injury, but she didn't.
No.
She says that, yep, he got her, and he's the master. And she says, hey, do you mind getting me some juice? And he says it's the least he could do for his favorite victim. He opens the fridge, and there's like a rubber rat hanging down. He just moves it around, looks back and forth. He's not impressed, and he also alerts her that there is no juice.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because I saw juice. So, a little rat isn't going to scare him, and also it's rubber.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to see her in the morning. He says that there's only one thing in the world that scares him, and she's never going to find out what that is. The youngest girl, the one that's going to be a string bean, walks in and opens the fridge, doesn't mention anything about the rat being scary or anything, looks over to her sister and says, that's the best you got? That's sad. When a little girl tells you that you're not scary, you should probably just take up knitting. Knitting is fun and, not scary. So Halloween night. So now we're finally at Halloween night. And the mom is dressed as Morticia. The dad is dressed as Gomez. And they start doing the very familiar Gomez and Morticia thing where, he's like all smoochy smooch and she says something in French and he smoochy smooches more. And then she's like, oh, Gomez, do you know what happens when we speak French? And then the smallest girl comes down the stairs and is like, and here she comes now. I thought that was hilarious because I don't remember the Addams Family ever doing that joke. But
right.
Man, they should have. That was gold. That was comedy gold.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. So, I loved that. So the little girl comes out, and her costume is amazing. And I'm thinking, why do they talk smack about her sewing skills so much? This is really good. Yeah, no, the little girl doesn't have her mouth sewn shut like her mom jokes she should have. But what happened is they had paid Vita, that's her friend's mom,
mm-hmm.
to make a costume for the little girl as well, which honestly is brilliant, and I'm sure Vita didn't mind.
Oh no, she was pretty good at doing costumes.
She was fine getting paid to make another awesome outfit. So Wendell walks in dressed as Mr. T. I totally saw it as Mr. T, but then he's like, well, I was supposed to be Wesley Snipes, and I'm like,
nothing like Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes wore that much jewelry? And I don't remember him wearing shorts, but maybe I just don't remember that right. The dad calls to Nick. Nick comes down in his little bathrobe, pretending he's sick, but not very well. He's like, my left pectoral hurts. No, my right pectoral hurts. No. Well, and the spot on my back I can't reach. What are you trying to pretend you have? Like you pulled a muscle? I don't get it.
Right.
So either way, the parents see right through his terrible acting, and they decide that, he's just scared, and yeah, that it's nothing. He's not sick. The Zara shake hands with the brother, who's not impressed, and the dad who's pretending to be Gomez, like, dang, there you are. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so great. This is the
Perfect
best
line.
Halloween episode of a show I've ever watched. But the little boy sees the severed hand, freaks out, and then the dad says, no, it's just your sister's hand, and then he gets even more scared and runs back upstairs.
Away.
I'm like, who is surprised that scared him off?
Right.
I love the best part, though. Like, I mean, the whole Addams Family thing was great. The joke about the kid coming down the stairs, was great. And then the bestest part of all was like, no, it's not just a severed hand, it's your sister's.
And he takes off running.
It's like, that didn't make it less scary, kid's dad.
Hey everyone, do not be alarmed. It is me, Lyle. I kind of have to give you guys a little disclaimer here. When we were recording this, me and April, something happened during, basically while we were recording, so I had to turn it off and leave. So we had it scheduled so we can get recording again the next day, but then, as you guys probably remember, a couple of, I don't know if I mentioned it in this program, but on the Christmas podcast that I do, I kind of went through the whole thing of what happened during that time. Actually, I think I did on the season finale. This episode was recorded before the Halloween special of 2018, So you guys heard of everything that happened. That basically happened right at this point, so I had to leave. Me and April, we had it to where we were going to record again on Monday, but it didn't happen. April is something happened to April. She's in a lot of pain. She's got to get surgery, so we just couldn't find the time to finish recording this episode. And I had it just sitting there for the longest time since October. It's just been sitting on the computer. So now I can't get April on, but I want to finish it so I can put it out for you guys. So I'm going to finish the episode, the one we were doing, the Taxi Man. I'm going to finish going through it all and then close out the episode, so at least you guys get this one. And episodes of the Halloween podcast are going to start coming out again very soon. I have hosting paid for another month or so. So until then, I don't know if it's going to continue after that, because honestly, there was little to no this listener support, really. But that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with it. I just need to figure out if I'm going to be able to pay for hosting one more year to keep it going. If not, that's going to be the end of the Halloween podcast. So on another note, I'm going to finish this episode. So I believe we ended off where Nicholas took the hand from the dad, and the dad's all like, it's Zarya's hand. And he takes off running. He goes upstairs. So in his room, the dad, he knocks on the door, and he comes in. He comes in with Wendell. They're both coming in. They're going to talk to Nicholas about being scared, about the taxi man. He's not... They say he's not real. To prove that he's not real, they're going to summon him right now. And Wendell gets very scared. He actually tries to leave the room. And Nick, he asks if they really need to call him. And the dad's like, yeah, you need to get over this fear. Because the only way you're going to be able to get over it is if you go through it head on. And Wendell chimes in and basically says that, yeah, he's probably out killing kids. We're not supposed to be bothering him right now in the biggest night of his year. And he says the line, we're just going to get his answering machine, man. So they start calling him. They do it 2 times. Nicholas, he stops it, and he gets a baseball bat. So they call him 2 times. A window interrupts them so they wouldn't get the third one out. And they say it one more time all together, and nothing happens. Nick says that maybe it only works in the dark. So they turn off the lights, and they do it again. On the last taxi man, Wendell runs to the lights. He turns them on, and he's all like, oh, it was no big deal. And he tries to act all tough, like it was no big deal. Nick starts feeling better that they actually called the taxi man 3 times and nothing happened. So he decides to go trick-or-treating. Downstairs, there's trick-or-treaters. Wendell and Robert, they fight over the candy bowl. The doorbell rings. It's a bunch of kids. They're all dressed as Don King. And Nick comes down the stairs dressed as a baseball player. Wendell's all like, that's not very scary. And Nicholas takes off his hat and he goes, oh, I'm a baseball zombie. Which, I mean, 90s, were zombies really that big back then? I don't know. He takes off his hat, and there's a little brain up where his head is. So they leave, and him and Wendell, they kind of have a little exchange about, yeah, don't be scared of the taxi man. And Wendell's all like talking to the candy. He's like, yeah, I pity the fool who's afraid of the big bad taxi man. And he's sitting there all by himself. Everyone has already left. The doorbell rings, and Wendell gets up, he opens the door, and it's somebody dressed as Taxi Man. He quickly closes the door and basically cries behind the door, telling him to leave. This part right here of the episode is the best part of the episode. If you can find this on YouTube, when you watch his reaction to seeing the guy dressed as Taxi Man, it is hilarious. Classical. So the guy dressed as Taxi Man, you see him like behind the door, and he's like, oh, I guess this Taxi Man costume is too scary. So they end up just leaving. Later on that night, we're in Nick's room, and Zarya comes in. She's saying that she never figured out exactly what Michael was scared of, and she says, well, we'll try again next year. And she leaves. Nick asks what Michael's afraid of, because they sleep in the same room. And Michael says that if he tells him, he's going to have to kill him. And then Nicholas is all like, okay, well, good night. So he goes, they're about to go to sleep, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't even need my nightlight anymore." He's that brave now, so he turns it off. And 2 seconds later, Michael gets up like in a panic, and he's all like, "Oh, Nicholas, turn it back on." And that just shows that Michael is scared of the dark. That's what he's scared of. And Nicholas says that, don't worry, I'm not going to tell Zarya. That's basically the end of the episode. So that's going to be the end of this episode because I just wanted to get in all of that stuff. Sorry if it sounds different from the first half of the episode, but this is a new microphone. I don't have the old one anymore. I have this brand new Shure microphone that hopefully is going to work out better for me here in my new location of recording. And like I said, new episodes of the Halloween podcast are going to start coming out very soon, probably in the next week or so after this one drops. So look out for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I do have a lot of stuff planned. I have things worked out for the 31 show countdown this year if I decide to do it, because like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford to pay the hosting for another year of the podcast, because, the Halloween podcast is very popular and it gets thousands of downloads. With that, I do need a higher subscription with the hosting service, and it gets very pricey. So hopefully I could figure all that stuff out so we can continue going, continue having it free. But if I can't, then sorry to say the Halloween podcast is going to be over in April, because April is the time when the hosting's over, sometime in the first week of April. So if I can't figure it out until then, it's going to be done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Halloween podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions, comments, or want to suggest anything for your future show, you can go ahead and send those to thehalloweenpodcast@gmail.com. You could also go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/thehalloweenpodcast. We're on Twitter at thehalloweenpod. If you'd like to support the show, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Trust me, those do help. You could also go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thehalloweenpod. I got a lot of bonus content up there for you guys, a lot of the behind the scenes type stuff. So if you want to hear all of those, you want to listen to every single unedited show, go ahead and leave us a $5 pledge. And if we get enough of those, I can continue the show. So until then, I will see you guys next time. Have a good night.